Q&A, let's go into it. So the first question from Alex. Hi Charles, regarding your Q&A, my question is, my biggest weakness is not being comfortable yet with leg locks. 50-50 for example. I am decent, 50-50 I'm decent and I feel comfortable, but obviously there are many more leg entanglements and transitions that make leg locks much more fun. Do you have any games that I can play to improve my leg locks? Absolutely. So there's a bunch of them, and I'm going to share a couple right now. If you want an entire suite of leg lock games, you can go check out Leg Locks 101 on BJJ Fanatics, but I'm going to try and show some ones that are not on there, that way we don't overlap. So, let's dive in. So, Alex has seen his butt. There's a bunch of different leg entanglements. I'm just going to go through a couple in the beginning. So the most basic one from inside position is Irimi Ashigarami, which just means direct entry into Ashigarami. I'm leaning to my side, I'm sliding in, right? And so I can end up right here. One of the games from right here that we can do is that I want to constantly make sure that I'm keeping my body in a state of contraction, right? I'm curling my body in. I'm not so much kicking him away, unless I do it temporarily, because if I just kick him away, he can easily knock my foot off, and it goes to the floor very easily. Whereas if I'm contracting, trying to push my foot off, it will be harder. Not impossible, but harder. So I'm going to just shift my goals. Goal number one for the game would be that I'm going to stay right here, and I'm just going to try and keep him on the ground, which means that my two goals are to stay attached to his leg and keep his butt on the ground. His goal is going to be, for the first one, to stand up. Alex tries to stand up. I'm going to take my leg and keep kicking that leg out and try my best. He's going to keep trying to stand up. But for Alex to win, his job, he must stand all the way up with the bottoms of both feet on the floor. So as long as that hasn't happened, the game's not over. So notice that if as long as I keep Alex's foot up, he can't finish standing up. Whereas if I overcommit to leg locking him, he can now put his foot on the floor, and now look, he's rising much more easily. So come on down. So one of the easiest ways to try and win this game for me is just never letting that foot hit the floor. There's a bunch of other ways I want you to tinker with it, but that will be the first version of the game, right? He's trying to get up, I'm trying to hold him down. You can replay the entire game by now shifting the focus. So now I'm going to make his goal, instead of standing up, to be to knock my foot off and to try and escape laterally, right? When you play the game this way, then I'm going to have to do things like switching to the other leg, right? Right? And as he runs away, but I'm still going to, the game's not over until he's completely separated from me. So right now, in his inside control position, the game is still going. However, if Alex separates his feet and run away, he wins the game because he's caused separation. The nature of this is having people dealing with different tactics. Then you repeat the next version of the game. The next version of the game would just be Alex's trying to run straight backwards. And I'm going to hold on. And all I can do is hold on. He can still push with it. He's running straight backwards. This is going to teach me to get good at contraction. As he escapes, I might want to put my foot straight back, or I can also just as easily come into things like butterfly ashi and other things like that. Be careful. This one's a little bit more complicated to get, but you can just look up butterfly ashi or keeping your shin behind here and holding on. It's risky for Alex. If his heel slips to right here, I can end up in an Aoki lock and accidentally hurt him or purposely hurt him. So it's dangerous for him. But in general, as long as I keep the overhook, I shouldn't accidentally hurt anybody. But speaking of accidental injuries, in general, in Ashigarami, if I keep someone's leg immobilized and they choose to violently spin, they will tear their own knee. Or they spin left or right. So as a safety warning, if the grip is loose, Alex can spin left. Yep, come back. Or he can spin right. As long as my grip is loose, his leg will spin independently inside my arm. However, if he tries to do that, when I have a tight grip on his leg, his knee is going to tear. So just word of the weird. That's off Ashigarami. I'm going to give you one more set of games off cross ashi, because in my opinion, these are the two of the most common positions. So Alex slides in. It's called cross ashi because legs across. It can also be called saddle, or I call this one in particular shallow saddle, where now, once again, he's going to have different goals. So one of the goals is going to be to grab really tight. So I'm going to be trying once again to keep him. The first game is that my job is to capture the secondary leg. His job is to run away. He can run away just by rolling that way. Rolling. Yeah, by rolling out, come back, He can run away like what he did the first time also by pushing my knee and sliding his hips away. Right? Come back. But in general, his cueing is that he needs to escape. Right? My job, because I was going to start right here, is that my job is to get control of his second leg. If I get control of both his legs for 3 seconds, he wins. Now, when I have this top leg, he could also pull the bottom leg out. And now look where I am. I'm in regular Ashigurami. From right here, I can always do that same entry. I sit back up and regain his leg. This makes a nice little drill, but if you want to make it live, that's going to be harder to get. Come back to right here, start again. And it kind of becomes like that slap game. The game begins when I touch his leg. And so it's waiting. The slap game I'm talking about is this game. He puts his hands like this. Remember, if you're playing with your friends and your siblings, and they're constantly going to get nervous about you doing something, and I won the game. But if he ever moves it the way and I miss, I lose the game. Same thing over here. Match begins when I touch his leg. If he's able to do this and free his leg, he's now one step closer to escaping, however he's going to escape. But once I grab his leg, it's going to teach me. I put both hands below his knee. He's going to open his knee. And now I still don't have the knee. If I put both hands right here, he can put his heel to his butt. And now I have this leg. I still don't really have anything because it's really strong on the floor. One above the knee, one below the knee. And I find that shaking it helps to get it in. It seems silly. It seems like BS. But it works better. If I just pull steadily, Alex can counteract my force and be really strong. Not if I'm pulling this way or pulling up. It's very annoying. But shake. I'm going to get it. All right? That's one game, capturing the secondary leg. Another game is going to be dealing with a partner who likes grabbing you. So I'm going to be right here, and my partner is going to, this time just grab my arm. He's going to be grabbing my arm. I'm going to take it with both hands. And so as he's grabbing my arm, it stops me from being able to bridge and finish this heel hook. Especially if he grabs and pulls further back, right, like this. It's very, very hard. Come on back. So the first thing we're going to do, this is where we start. Obviously, do not just bridge through your partner's knee. I win the game if I can connect my hands for 3 seconds. So imagine that I was able to break the grip. If I'm able to have a connection, whatever grip you want, I can use a gable, I can use this grip, I can do rear naked choke, but I want to get a finishing grip, whatever grip that I like, for 3 seconds without him breaking my grip again. Okay? We're just catching the grip. Notice we're not doing a whole thing, we're just slicing into these small little games. So from right here, I start off with over. I don't have heel exposure, I'm just right here, and he's got one arm. This is where the game begins. His goal, once again, is going to be to keep my arm and either run away or climb up and get on top of me. He can do either, right? But for now in the game, try to make it more about the arm so we can isolate that principle. Because dealing with 2 things at once is going to be a little bit harder. We're trying to isolate problems that you're going to have. So from right here, he's pulling my arm, right? This is called the zigzag pull. I pull straight, I pull up. I pull straight, I pull up, because the human body is bad also at dealing with changing angles. This time, unfortunately, shaking is not going to help as much. I can shake my arm all I want. He's still going to keep control of me. But I want to pull horizontal, and then I kink it up, and I pull horizontal. Look, I'm slowly gaining thing. And then I can clear the grips and get my grip right here. So even if he has my arm, if I'm connected, this is going to be bad for him. But his job is going to usually be to break my connection, and the game continues. You never bridge through their leg. The goal is not to submit them. The goal is simply to maintain your hands together. And so you might realize that, oh, my arm is too close to him when I use a regular gable. Let's try butterfly grip. Arm's a little further away. You can still get there, but it's further away. Or maybe I need to lay down over here more. Right? In general, one little detail that I like, I used to put my shoulder on the mat. What I realized about putting my shoulder on the mat is that it alleviates a lot of pressure on his foot. Getting my shoulder close to the mat, but not on the mat, I find keeps pressure a lot more, while also adding more tension to his ankle. I want to always be trying to force the foot into dorsiflexion. Be careful with this. This is not a drill for your spazzy training partner. Stick with the ones that you trust. because your knee is valuable. All right, and I'm going to give you one more. Actually, I think 5 is a lot, but I'll give you just one last one, where this is going to be all about dealing with the roll. So come a little closer to me. All right, so in this scenario, and mind you, I'm choosing the shallow saddle. You can do all of these in foot to foot, Sankaku, X. You can realize that they all feel a little different. Especially if the first game, the more you lean your legs forward, the easier you can lean to grab. So just be careful, all right? Next thing, from right here, we're going to talk about Alex rolling away. This is the concept of contraction and extension. Regardless of my foot position, I'll do foot to foot because it's the most popular. I'm in foot to foot position. Notice when I'm doing foot to foot, so you can see, I'm not doing foot to foot even. I'm sliding it down so that one foot is slightly lower than the other so that they fit together cleanly. I don't want that hole that is created between my arches. So I choose foot to foot. There's a lot of other ones. Foot to foot has advantages, disadvantages. One of the disadvantages is that depending on how I do it, Alex can pummel inside. I don't like that. But if I clamp, it's going to be harder. Next detail, I don't usually want to be clamping because it gives him access to push my knee. I want to be flaring this one and closing that one. So I'm leaning forward, and I want to kind of think of being Sonic the Hedgehog or a cannonball or whatever vision you have in your head of that. I'll usually try to grab my own butt or behind my own back so that as Alex rolls that way, I go through my forehead and I can come with him. Right? Notice I did not lose any distance here. I'll occasionally have my foot flying up. I'll have to pummel back in. But that's really the only problem I have. Okay? Keeping it there. We don't have much space, so we're going to slide back and do it again. So we're here. Now look what happens if I try to be finishing. If I'm going for the heel hook, he's hiding his heel. I'm trying to expose the heel and I'm extending. Alex, you spinning? I'm a little closer to losing the knee line. He rolls again. I've just lost everything. You don't want to be losing your knee line in each roll. One more time. I want to be staying contracted. Now, mind you, another thing that you can do if Alex tries to roll is chase his knee. If I stop that knee, he doesn't get to roll. Or if we do roll, I know that we're keeping our rotation similar. So as we're rolling, his life is getting worse. And I'll often take transitions into backside 50-50 or Dugaroo from here. But I think I've probably dove a little deeper in this question than I could have because I got to answer their questions too. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. Let's look at the next question. He's getting the arm drag. Oh, he wants some attacks from the elbow frame. Beautiful. Once again, it's almost like you guys are setting me up. There's an instructional BJ Fanatics called Defense to Offense, attacks from the elbow frame. They're all there, but I will give you a couple. And so some butt judo from the elbow frame. In general, I don't usually do the attacks from being stacked on my shoulders. Alex is here, I'm stuck on my shoulder. I'll almost always want to get up, at least to my elbow. Even the elbow is a liability. See how my hand is here, being waiting to be grabbed by him? This is not fun, right? So this is less stable, but it stops Alex from pulling my arm. And right now, his knee is too good, I can't pummel on the inside. So what would I do? I would slide further away again to here. Once I've pummeled my foot inside, it means he's not chasing me. If he's not chasing me, I'm almost always going to be going either for replacing guard or going for sumigaeshi. Unless he clears my arm, if he passes by my arm, then I'm going to slide in. I'm going to be going for the seoi nage, the shoulder throw. I attach my arm here, I attach it here. I end up rolling through. If you scroll back on the Patreon to the video of me wearing kind of the brown tweed looking fake suit outfit, I show this exact same one as well. But I think that's one good option off the elbow frame. If they pass it, if they don't pass it, I'm almost always trying to build height. And as I build height, the key moment is when I get my knee up. Because right now, see, Alex's head and my head are almost even. Once I slide away and get to here, now I'm taller than Alex. And my decisions are based upon Alex's arms. If Alex lets me grab his arm, then I'm going to toss him here. And roll over my leg very easily. Come on back. However, if Alex chooses to not let me grab that arm, I can't do that, or he grabs my leg, well then now, things are going to change. If he grabs my leg there, I might even push him away and switch to a wizard, and then just knock him over that way. But the biggest one is that if I can pummel to the inside, I now have the orphan limb principle. I'm stepping on his calf. If I can get my heel through his calf and pull it out, I'm now knocking him down that way. So my sweeping options are almost always going to be preferable to my leg locking options if my head is higher than his, unless he's circling really far. So if I'm right here and he's circled really far around me, well, he's put his legs in between my legs. So I'll occasionally come and wizard and put myself in the dogfight, and look where I've set myself up. Very, very easy now for me to spin underneath, grab his leg, and roll through for the victor roll entry. Straight into the knee bar, or if you like saddle better, one adjustment away from going into heel hooks and other things instead. All right, and this actually goes really well because Andrew had asked a similar question, which is when you're in the elbow frame and you're pummeling and getting your foot inside, how do you know when to invert? All right, and so I had that question memorized, so good on me. But from right here, I love this place with my foot right here. It really depends upon what he's doing with his intention, meaning is he driving into me or is he trying to circle around me? Right? That changes what I do. But as far as going for legs, it also has to do with the height of this leg. Right now, Alex is choosing to have it on his foot. When this leg is down and that leg is up, sweeping him that way is actually going to be very hard. Because if I try to sweep him that way, he's got a great base over there. He's far more vulnerable going this way. I probably wouldn't leg lock him in this configuration. I'd almost always choose to start knocking him backwards. Now this changes if he switches his feet, right? If he puts this knee down and that leg up, well then now this is asking for me to throw him in the air. And I will usually either keep this, but this transition right here of tracking to the far armpit, right? This isn't keeping him away, but once I'm up here, I've got access. I can pull that arm out. And this reverse arm drag is going to help me out quite a bit. And I scoot underneath, elevate him, and we have the pizza foot. Now, if I miss entirely, that's okay. I spin into the knee bar. But it's all going to depend on the angle that I get. Let's try one more time. So if we're here, and that leg's up, it's easier to sweep him to his back than it is to leg lock him. I can still do it, like I said, even from right here on my butt, but I'm falling to my left hip. And I'm having a balance. See how he's falling down right there? His leg is not between my legs. But if I pick him up, he's on his butt. Because his leg is on the outside. Come on back. Switch your knees, put that one back up. When we're in this situation with this one down, same scenario. I pick it up on top of me. Look, there's his leg. Hanging out right there. But everyone's different. There will always be people that are more comfortable falling on their back than being leg locked. Don't force it. Alex is very naturally keeping his legs wide, not between my legs, so I'm not getting leg locked. That's going to happen sometimes. All right, so I already filmed this earlier, but I felt that I need to do an addendum. So when I was demonstrating on Alex, every single time that I threw him in the air, his legs were wide and I missed the leg. And sometimes that's going to happen. There's a couple of things that cause that. I want to dive into that because I want to give you more. So I'm going to put Andrew on this side. And we're going to start off in the elbow frame situation. And so from the elbow frame, it's all about how he has circled. If I've slid back to right here, I talked about whether or not his knee was down on either leg. And that is part of it. But the biggest thing is going to be the angle of this hip. Right? So from right here, I switch into my kind of reverse arm drag or pizza flip position. And so as I toss Andrew in the air, I'm going to pause for a moment, right? So what you're going to see right now is Andrew's leg is naturally kind of sagging between my legs. And as I have to push him away to make this leg fall into my lap, right? And notice his leg is falling into my lap.
much more easily than Alex's was. Why is this happening, guys? One more time. So even if we switch his leg, pick this leg up for me. He picks this leg up. Let's see if it happens any differently now. I come right here, pizza flip position. I pick him up. I push him away. That's what causes it. When I push his shoulder away and make this hip fall. So then why the hell was I failing before? Again, what I want you to do is to, as I pick you up, I want you to put weight into your hands and spread your legs as wide as they can. And I think this can make this foot hit the floor and I'm going to miss it. I think that is my hypothesis to why I was failing before. I come right here, I pick him up. His legs are super wide, but I still got his leg right here. But because they're back, it's a little further away. But from right here, I can still snap down and get this right here. Do this to me, Andrew. I think I'm going to be able to possibly recreate it. And now I have the opposite problem. Last time I couldn't get the leg, and now I can't miss the leg. So here we are. He's going to toss me in the air. This is what was happening. See how I jumped up with my foot on the floor? There's no leg now. Now, do me a favor. I wonder if you can still take this hand and push my shoulder away. I wonder if you can bring me back. Yep. And this is the best you're going to get in the regular Ashigarami. So it's all about your partner. Because I spread my legs, left on the floor, there was no Leglock to be had. It wasn't about the initial position. It was more about how they reacted to the air. Whereas when you deal with a wrestler, they tend to do kind of what Andrew's doing, that kind of flying squirrel position. Where when I toss them in the air, this happens with wrestlers because they don't want to fall on their back. If he puts his legs on the floor like this, well, he's giving me access to enter regular Ashigarami. And then even from here, I can do the reverse X and take the leg afterwards. So, both need to add this. Hope you guys enjoy.
Don't be greedy. Get up and take side control. We'll do it one more time. We're here. We pummeled it right here. This push and pull. I fall, I pick it up, I spin. This time I got the leg. So sometimes these are hard or slow, but right here's the knee bar. I have it right there. I would personally make sure I control the secondary leg so he can't spin. If I don't, Alex is going to come to his knee, and now we end up in a scramble. Where I'm in a leg lock, but this is not ideal. The second thing I would say is I want you to kind of be comfortable not just shifting from here to here, but also shifting from here to dogfight. To me, the dogfight is just one of my favorite positions. And once, just like last time, if this knee is down, I'm going to start trying to knock him that way. If this knee is down, then I'm going to be pummeling inside. We have this last option where I take my toes and dig them underneath, and I don't even have to go for a throw. I'm just going to sit up. And takes his leg right out. With that same orphan limb principle. The orphan limb principle states that if there's weight on my knee, then the lower part of the leg is vulnerable. Hope this answers your question. Thanks, Andrew. So, Ryan's question was, seriously though, I've been thinking a lot about transitions recently and creating flows for my students. For example, a flow going from various control positions in order to get better at smoothing those out. Everyone tends to focus on submissions, but I'm more interested in being able to move better from position to position with authority and pressure. Because as we know, once we have that control position, the ability to get a fresh sub is much greater. I completely agree. I love what you were doing in the infinite loop on Jitsu on the go, and I'm interested to see if you have some flows of the body that benefit for both people. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. And it's a little bit harder. I'm probably going to do another one of these, but the base part of that is simply kind of an action-reaction where they're doing things that are reasonable. So Alex lays on his back for me. So we're going to actually talk about where we put our weight. So from right here, if my weight is on his hips, I'm vulnerable to him just sitting up. So he literally can just sit up and I fall backwards. Usually people will use the pendulum, they'll throw their feet up and then throw them down, and I fall down even more. So it's usually from this side sit-out position or Keiza position. Now whether you play underhook Keiza or classic judo Keiza, Keiza just means scarf or scarf hold, whatever you want to call it, it's not really important to me, but for the sake that we're talking about, it's somebody staying low on the hips. Alex could sweep me, but if I choose, as he throws his feet up, to switch to regular side control, now we're in a scenario where I've got deeper control. I want to talk about this particular type of side control where my knee goes close to the head, and I'm going to lever my ribs over the forearm, as you can see right there, and I'm also going to pull right here. Now this gives me the ability to really pin Alex right here. Now, once I begin shifting my attention over here to this arm, Alex should be able to get his elbow in. If he gets his elbow in, he's now giving me an opportunity to pin him differently. I'm going to switch my hips, and I'm going to staple. Once I begin going for a staple position, Alex now has the option to start swimming his hand, and I can windshield wipe. Right? And so this is a nice flow between pinning the armpit with my hips and now using a staple. Now, as we get into the staple position, I can switch sides if I want. Like, there's going to be a lot of options. I can pull it up, switching around, coming to the other side, starting to threaten his back. But even from right here, Alex can come to his knees. And so my job to follow him. If you notice, I just follow the space. This major control space, I'm always following it. Right? I don't really care about this mission. I just care that I'm remaining in this space. I'm not going to make this choreographed. I'm just giving you some ideas of what can happen. What I have right now is sometimes called the spiral ride if I move my hand. Right now I don't have anything. I just have one kind of a grip on his thigh. From right here, this would not be diagonal control. Because I have control of this hip, which means I want control of this armpit in some way, shape, or form. Or if I can't, control of this far arm to stop rotation that way will also be good. So if I just grab his hand right there, and he wants to turn to his left, turn to your left, he can't. I'm pulling him. If he wants to turn to his right, he can't because I'm holding that leg up. This is having control of both angles. The classic diagonal control would be me having an underhook right here. And this is what's called a spiral ride in wrestling. And it allows me to sit Alex down to his butt and begin trying to attack his back. Now, that was me freestyling through a sequence. So while I'm not going to have a full choreographed flow like I did the infinite loop ready for you today, I'll make that in the future. What I want you to try and think about is that idea. I'm not fighting for what he took away. I'm not just trying to put the same thing back. I'm seeing what his escape gave me. So we're going to start again from side control. All right? When I'm laying down here, what Alex's escape is giving me is the fact that he's not defending this arm. So as he throws his feet up, he's sitting up. Sit up, Alex. And he's giving me his chest close to my hip. If I switch my hips soon enough, it gives me armpit control. Right? As he gets his elbow frame in, now his regular elbow is in, well, what's that giving me? Well, it's giving me access to the crook of his elbow. Previously, we're this deep, I don't have access to the crook of his elbow. I have access to the top of his arm. Besides that elbow in, well now, when I switch my hips back to where we were before, I now can get to the end of the lever and pull my knee in. I used to do this, but there's a big hole. I also just pull his arm out, right? Whereas this is tighter. Practicing this windshield wiper is one of my favorite things, and just being able to circle around the body. I always pull them up off the floor and then push their head down. With this far side arm bar I can choose to go to if I want, and now Alex grabs his hands. Same thing, always controlling that far side arm. I can pull this in as well. Switching to arm lock if I want. This is going to be a different series than last time. If I want to rise, I don't want both feet over here, so just like we do shallow saddle, we can come shallow right here, put the shin behind his head. And now we slide up. And now we have the shin on the back of head arm bar. The sequence went a different direction this time, and that's okay. Right? I can look at that far leg over there. Maybe I want to attack that leg. I let go of the arm. And I begin coming around here and going after the leg. So rather than giving you a sequence, I want you to just practice circling around. What I'm doing is a loose set of transitions. The old school way, like what I originally was taught, was in a judo class. But it's a really miserable, crushing, grinding sequence, which I'll show you once, but I don't use it as often because it's very tiring. Right? And so you start off in side control. Perfect. You lay down in side control, you pummel to the other side of the head, right? And I'm just going to slowly start working. I slide my thigh over, I keep my hip low, I grab my hand right here, I'm pulling this hand across, I keep circling, I pull this hand across, and I keep circling, and I end up knotting Alex's arms up. And he's pulled his arms across, and then I come through here, and I slide over to mount. And then from mount, I hold his fingers, I slide up all the way into S. This is pretty visible for Alex because I end up with this arm bar with arms entirely knotted. The problem is when I do that in real life with someone resisting, it's very hard to keep it that tight the whole time. And if I do, and I'm drilling on a partner, they're gonna hate my guts because it's absolutely miserable. But that's just one idea of keeping close and just spinning and spinning and spinning. But in all the ways that that can fail, you have other sequences. That same sequence, instead of keeping everything, I move this hand over here and I put my hand upside down. I can spin and I can drop my hip and I can keep them up. And this becomes backside entry to the dars. It's that same sequence, that same rotation, but I take it down a different route. So hopefully these ideas will inspire you, tinker a little bit more, and see how your flows go. I think that's it. I'm going to double check if there are any other questions that I missed, but I think I got all of them. Have fun, guys.